So I know you wrote an article, 3 things to know about the Broncos. Number 1, defense has rebounded very well from a historical low. We'll talk about that in a minute. Number 2, Russell Wilson thrown a lot of touchdowns, not a lot of yards. And number 3, sacks have been hard to come by. So take us through those things on your article with the Broncos.
Well, let's start with number 1. I think everybody remembers, what happened to the Broncos in week 3 in Miami. They got absolutely dominated 70-20, one of the biggest blowouts in NFL history. I mean, they were absolutely destroyed defensively in that game. But, the last several games, especially the last 5, they've really picked it up a little bit. I mean, they haven't given up 30 points in the game since week 4 against the Bears, which is a game they came back to win. So it seems like this defense is turning a corner for them, and a reason why they're doing it, they're taking the football away. I mean, they've got 19 takeaways so far this season. So that's second best right now in football. They've got a takeaway in 7 consecutive games. Even in just their last 3 alone, they've taken it away 12 times. So just as they were against Pittsburgh and Baltimore, the Browns got to be wary of the Broncos' ability to take the football away. Although, as I'll get to in a second, it's a different way than what the Steelers have done. Number 2, we talking about Russell Wilson. What stands out to me are a couple of things. I mean, number 1, he's not throwing for a lot of yards, about 206.5 per game, which is 24th in the NFL. They're in 24th in the NFL in passing yards per game. But what he's doing is he's throwing touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So, I mean, that's almost a 5-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. That's tremendous. So it tells me they're finishing drives, and, he's finding a way to get the ball in the end zone. He's got some great receivers. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, they're playing at a very good level. And, Russell Wilson showing, even at 35 years old, still got plenty in the tank. And then number 3, this is not a team that gets after the quarterback very well. They were one of the worst teams this season in pressure rate, even going back to, prior, going back into Sunday, the Broncos had just 17 sacks, heading into their game against the Vikings. They were able to get a pair to get them up to 19, but they've given up 32, so they just don't get after the quarterback very well. Their leading sackers, Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bonito, each have 5.5, but they have only 2 other guys with 3 sacks, and after that, only 2 guys with even 1 sack, and one of them, Randy Gregory, isn't even on the team anymore. So you would have to imagine if you're the Browns, you're not as concerned about Denver's ability to get into the backfield and pressure Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Just hasn't quite been there. When you look at the Broncos' strength at that defense is in the secondary. Patrick Surtain at corner, Justin Simmons at safety.
So when you look at what you think the plan is for DTR and what you ask him to do, I don't think you want to get too crazy. You want to make the reads simple. You don't want him to sit there and have to process it. What does the game plan look like against a team that doesn't have great pass rush but disguises coverage pretty well and has a good secondary?
I think it's just got to be, just to be smart with the football, just like Connie Wheels last week, make quick decisions and trust your eyes. I mean, we talked about, a veteran defense, a very talented secondary. I imagine, part of the game plan is you're going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain on Amari Cooper. So you may not be able to go to him as much. So you might have to lean on more on like Elijah Moore or David Njoku or Cedric Tillman, because they'll get, probably more coverage from guys like Fabian Moreau and the rest of that Denver secondary. So I think with DTR, they may get more opportunities to throw those intermediate passes because, like I said, there just isn't that much of a threat of a pass rush from the Broncos. But you still got to be wary of, making sure you're making smart decisions with the football, because again, Surtain is one of the best corners in the game. Justin Simmons is a high level safety, and they're on a roll with taking the football away. So it's kind of maybe a similar vein to what they were doing last week, with the exception of maybe now that you can give DTR a little more time, you don't necessarily have to devote as many resources to protecting him. That's when I think you can maybe be more willing to take a shot deep, especially playing in Mile High with the altitude.
The other thing is the Broncos struggle run defense. So how important is the run game and getting that going?
Massive. That's been the key to success for the Browns all season is the ability to run the football. They've turned it around so well since the bye week, and they've run basically on everybody they played against. The only time they really haven't is the second half against Pittsburgh, and that's because the Steelers were really squatting down on everything. So I think that's going to be important. And the Browns is going to have to, get her if the Browns can get an early lead again and lean on the run game and not, force Dorian Thompson Robinson into too many situations where he's going to have to throw to make plays more than just that 2 or 3 like we saw against the Steelers. If you can lean on the run game and they can, hit those success rate markers, win first down, keep you on schedule, that's I think, something you can do to really, establish yourself in this game because the way to take advantage of this Broncos defense, try and avoid those passing situations as much as possible. Obviously, you're gonna have to make some big completions, but if you can put yourself in situations where you aren't necessarily guaranteed to throw the football, that I think is your best bet with a rookie quarterback.